You know, in some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows?
I want to turn to that college basketball star, Keontae Johnson, who's in critical condition after collapsing on the court in the middle of a game.
Take your hat off to the young, because they have a hell of an immune system.
These are young, strong people. They won't have a big problem with the China virus.
This is particularly important for our athletes who put themselves through quite a bit of exertional stress on the playing field, where exercise can be a trigger for something like an arrhythmia or cardiac arrest if there is inflammation in the heart muscle called myocarditis.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is.
More than 4,000 deaths confirmed in just 24 hours.
But it affects virtually nobody.
This rambling buffoon does not simply, in the words of Dominique Foxworth, give a damn. And the thing is,
we can see that this virus is statistically close to zero threat to college-age kids. They're a far greater danger from things like car accidents, homicide, suicide, heart disease.
Neither do those who call the games, like analyst Joel Klatt for Fox Sports. However, when in doubt, trust the science. Researchers from Ohio State found that out of more than 24 athletes from the university who tested positive for COVID-19, 30% had cellular heart damage and 15% showed signs of heart inflammation caused by a condition known as myocarditis.
You know, these football players are very young, strong people, and they're physically in extraordinary shape. So they're not going to have a problem.
After mapping the hearts of 26 Ohio State University athletes using a process known as CMR, researchers found that not only 15% of students exhibited the rare heart condition, but 30% showed cellular damage.
Many people get it, and they have, like kids, they get it, they have the sniffles. Young kids, almost none have a serious problem with it.
The study's authors wrote, cardiac magnetic resonance imaging has the potential to identify a high-risk cohort for adverse outcomes and may importantly risk stratify athletes for safe participation. Recent studies have raised concerns of myocardial inflammation after recovery from coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, even in asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic patients. When I read this, all I can think of is, how is this not a bigger story? I think back to PBS's League of Denial, a thorough investigation into the NFL's intentional misguidance, malfeasance, and blind eye turning to concussions within its workforce. To be blunt, when I think back to players who are retired and can barely walk or remember what they did the previous day, or worse, I continually think, how could this happen? And yet in present day, we are watching the young travel throughout the country, stay in hotels, and go through high-risk scenarios, while some, and frankly all local officials, should be saying it, stay home. For example, Brad Feeney, a freshman on Indiana University's football team, experienced prolonged trouble breathing after testing positive for COVID-19. Like UF's Keontae Johnson, indoor basketball increases the risk of COVID-19 in multiple and concerning ways, said Lupita Montoya, an indoor air quality and aerosol expert at the University of Colorado. The generation of aerosols from the players is increased by physical activity and unabated by a mask. Because the heart needs oxygen to function properly, COVID-19 can damage the lungs, preventing enough oxygen from reaching the heart muscle and further restricting oxygen from reaching other important tissues in the body. This is long-term damage these athletes will suffer. Unfortunately, the NCAA remains an accomplice to these future health complications. If you'd like to hear more thought-provoking content like TYT Sports on Facebook and to help in my journey to keep media independent, go to tyt.com/Rick.